Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's session. Yeah, first things first, this is the second part of our exploring PAM360's contextual integration session. So, in the previous episode, you would have seen how PAM360 effortlessly integrates with ITSM solutions such as Service Desk Plus, ServiceNow, and so on. In that integration, you would have seen how you can restrict access to just the users who have valid ticket IDs, and as well as see how your administrators and your technicians can launch sessions without any issues right from Service Desk Plus console as well. And in addition, you would have also taken a look at how you can perform application to application credential management as well as secrets management with respect to Kubernetes environment. So all that done, now we have a few other integrations that we offer with PAM360. We'll be talking about that in detail in today's session. So I'm Meenakshi Sundaram. I'll be the one who'll be running the session today, and I'm joined by Suvedan, who's our lead product expert as well. So yeah, before we begin, a quick few house rules. By default, all attendee lines will be muted, but that doesn't mean you cannot post your questions. You can always raise your questions as and when you get them. Suvedan will help us answer all your questions right then and there. You'll have a recording of this session sent to you right after this session gets done. We'll be processing the recording and we'll be sharing it with all of our attendees and non-attendees. However, I request you to stay until the end of this session so that you can get a complete picture as to what the integrations are all about and how you can best utilize these integrations. And yeah, you can send us feedback about the session as well as you can tell us if you require any additional sessions in the future on topics that we've not yet covered in our masterclass series. You can write to hello-pam360 at manageengine.com. All right, so today we'll be talking about three key integrations. So the integrations will be PAM360's integrations with SIEM solutions such as Splunk, ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer, and Microsoft Sentinel. And then we'll talk about our integrations with ManageEngine's dedicated UEBA solution, the user entity and behavior analytics solution that we have in-house. And then finally, we'll talk about our integration with ManageEngine Analytics Plus. So users of PAM360 will be aware of the fact that we have an inbuilt advanced analytics module that comes with ManageEngine Analytics Plus embedded within PAM360 as well. So why are we talking about these three integrations in today's session? So the key focus is on getting key insights and logs for you to understand, visualize, aggregate, and get more insights on. For example, take any security solution for that matter. Audits and reports would be a key factor or would play a major role in helping you form your security policies and identifying all the gaps that you may have, and it will also give you opportunities to improve your existing workflows and policies, right? So that is also the focus of today's session. We'll be talking about how you can aggregate all logs from PAM360 and send them to SIEM solutions so that you get a holistic picture of all the logs in your enterprise. And we'll also not just stop there. We'll talk about our integration with ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer, which is ManageEngine's in-house SIEM solution. We'll see how you can uh, pull certain logs from ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer corresponding to all the RDP sessions launched from PAM360. So you get complete insights as to what's happening within a session right from within PAM360's interface. And once you collect all these logs, once you aggregate these logs and keep them in a centralized place, what do you do then? You will then have to identify which logs to constantly monitor, right? Because at any point in your enterprise, you may have hundreds or thousands of sessions running every single hour or day. So it may not be humanly possible for you to monitor every single log that gets aggregated. So you need a starting point, right? That is where ManageEngine's user entity and behavior analytics solution will help you with. It will help you identify the anomalies that happen in your enterprise. So uh, it will basically profile all the events that happen in your enterprise and just profile them based on the baseline score that has already been defined, and anything that goes a little above or lower the baseline score will be flagged as an anomaly. We'll be seeing all of that in that particular track. And finally, we'll talk about how you can visualize all these alerts and all these events for you to understand the different patterns that affect your business operations, your business workflows, as well as if there are any security gaps in your enterprise. You can identify them and you can instantly address them as well. So in that particular segment, we'll also be sharing some use cases that you can probably take a look at that will be useful to you. And based on that, you can create custom dashboards and reports using our integration with Analytics Plus as well. So we'll start off with our integration with SIEM solutions. PAM360 integrates with all the SIEM solutions out there, and we have predefined templates for 4 solutions. As you can see here, we have predefined templates for you to integrate effortlessly with Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, Sumo Logic, and ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer. So all you will have to do is set up the integrations. You will have the integration guide already sent to your chat section in Zoho webinars. Suvedan has already dropped the relevant links. So you can use these links to integrate PAM360 with these solutions. And what this does is it helps you to send all the logs aggregated in PAM360 to these SIEM solutions so as to get a holistic picture of all the logs in your enterprise from one place, which will be your SIEM solution. So plugging in this data, which is very crucial with respect to identity and access regulations as well, will give you finer insights as to all the critical information happening at your enterprise. So as you can see, these aren't just the 4 solutions that you can integrate with. You can also integrate with any custom SIEM solution out there by selecting the others tab from PAM360's interface. I'll quickly show you how and where you can actually see these options. So once you're logged in to PAM360, switch to the admin tab, and under the admin tab, you can access the integration style from PAM360's interface and click on SIEM integration. So here, as you can see, you can integrate with these 4 solutions with our using our ready-made templates. And if you want to enable an integration with other SIEM providers as well, you can very well integrate without any hassle as well. So in the next segment, we are going to talk about ManageEngine PAM360's integration with Event Log Analyzer. So as you can see, you can integrate with Event Log Analyzer, and I've already integrated here. The details are populated, and I will quickly switch to what this particular integration does. Right. So as I'd earlier mentioned, all the other integrations will help you forward all your logs from PAM360 to these SIEM solutions. But one cool factor about our integration with Event Log Analyzer from ManageEngine is that you'll be able to identify certain logs corresponding to the RDP sessions launched from your enterprise. Say, for example, you have hundreds of people launching sessions from your enterprise every day. You would want to identify the logs pertaining to just that session, right? You wouldn't want to scamper across different SIEM solutions and try to figure out what logs had been generated during a particular session that was launched from PAM360, right? So this is the problem that this integration solves. So Event Log Analyzer will collect all the logs during a remote session. So whenever a user launches an RDP session from PAM360, Event Log Analyzer will identify that particular action, and it will start aggregating all the logs pertaining to that particular session. And once the user terminates that session, Event Log Analyzer will then be able to collate all these logs and send them back to PAM360. And you'll be able to view all these logs corresponding to the audit log that's recorded for that particular session in PAM360's audits tab. We'll see that very soon. So together, this gives you a complete visibility of all the sessions that happen in your enterprise, all the RDP sessions that are launched. Right now, the support is only available for RDP sessions. So yeah, for now, you'll be able to get complete visibility across all the RDP sessions launched from PAM360, and you'll be able to identify all the relevant logs performed during that particular session as well. So let's see how this works. So I'll quickly switch to the resources tab. So I have a pre-configured resource here. Now I'll quickly take an RDP from PAM360. Right. So now that I have launched an RDP session, Event Log Analyzer on the back end will be able to identify that a particular session has been triggered from PAM360. And once it identifies that a particular session has been launched, it will start aggregating all the logs that get processed during that particular session. So for example, let's create, let's just randomly create a particular new file. So you can perform any action, any sensitive action on your endpoints, on your servers, and all these actions will be tracked, and logs, you can form logs based on your particular actions. Logs will be captured in ELA, and these logs will then be sent back to PAM360 once the session gets terminated. So I have just created a log file, and you can basically do anything. You can, when you access applications, or when you access certain files or folders, or when you modify any existing parameters, all these activities will be logged, and then they'll be captured in Event Log Analyzer. So once you terminate your session, once the RDP session gets terminated from your end, you will then be able to view all these logs under Audit Activity tab in PAM360. So yeah, so let me just quickly sign out from this machine. So once the disconnection happens, once the session gets terminated, ELA will then realize that, okay, the session has been terminated, and it will stop viewing logs for that particular session. It will then collate all these logs and push these logs corresponding to the audits recorded in PAM360. So you can view these audits from PAM360's audits tab. You can then switch to recorded connections. And under the recorded connections, you'll be able to find something called activity logs. So an important thing to note here is that all the logs will be pushed from ELA after about 10 to 20 minutes since the action is performed. So every 20 minutes or 10 minutes, a scan runs on the back end. ELA will then push all these logs to your machine. So for now, I'll just quickly show you what these logs look like from a random session that we previously worked on. Yeah. So from this audit activity tab, you will see a detailed report of all the actions that were performed, starting from when the session was launched to what happened during the session, and all the relevant audits pertaining to that particular session, right until the session termination activity that has happened here. So yeah, that is exactly how you can view all your logs corresponding to a particular session launched from PAM360, and how you can swiftly not just access the video recording of that particular session using PAM360 session recording feature, but you can also view all the logs that happened on the endpoint, on the server as well. So this way you get a complete access as to what happened during a session. But there's still another problem, right? How do you identify the sessions that you'll have to audit? Because as I mentioned earlier, you'll probably have hundreds or thousands of sessions running in parallel at any moment in your enterprise, right? You may not have the bandwidth to manually view the logs of every single session. You'll probably need a starting point. You'll probably need to understand what session is crucial for you to audit and log. And that is what we'll help you with using our integration with ManageEngine's user entity and behavior analytics solution. So ManageEngine has a native UEBA solution as part of Log360. Log360 is an offering from ManageEngine as well. It comes as a bundle that offers you event log analyzer, UEBA, AD audit activities, and a lot more in one bundle. So UEBA is also a part of that particular bundle. So what this does is it helps you identify all the anomalies that happen with respect to your particular solution, or with respect to your particular service. So you can easily integrate PAM360 with ManageEngine UEBA, and then identify anomalies based on three different patterns that are predefined in UEBA. So you'll try to identify if there are any time-based anomalies for example, if a particular user is supposed to log in at say 8 a.m. and log off by 5 p.m., but then they're logging in at say 3 a.m. in the morning, and you have this particular user accessing more number of resources than they usually would access, which would then come under the count-based anomalies. You can track all these, and in addition, if the pattern of the user, if let's say the user usually logs in from one IP address and then performs a particular action, and that is their baseline pattern that is being defined in UEBA. However, that baseline pattern is not matched with the expected behavior, then there'll be a pattern based anomaly tagged in UEBA as well. So there are three different types of anomalies that you can track using ManageEngine's UEBA. So we'll just see how this happens. And before I show you that, I'll quickly show you how you can integrate UEBA with PAM360 as well. As mentioned earlier, you will probably have a detailed guide shared with you by Suedan earlier in the session. You can find that from the chat section of your Zoho webinar tab. Now, under the integration section from the admin tab, you can find an option called ManageEngine, right? So here you can also integrate with ManageEngine Log360 UEBA as well. So once you perform the integration, you'll then be able to send all the logs collected from PAM360 to your UEBA solution, and it'll then train itself to understand and identify anomalies that may be present. So yeah, this is how it looks. This is how the Log360 UEBA looks. We have a dedicated section for this just for this masterclass. We have all these reports pertaining to just the actions performed from PAM360. But as you can see below, you can also configure plenty of reports pertaining to different actions that can be performed in different services that are available as well. For now, we'll just focus on the reports relevant to PAM360. As you can see here, you can integrate and pull logs from PAM360's user and resource audit tabs. Once you integrate, Log360 UEBA will start training itself for 7 days. It will train based on the logs that get aggregated in the service. Soon after you integrate, for the next 7 days, whatever logs that are sent to UEBA, it will be used for training purpose. And after the 7 days, a baseline threshold value will be set. Once this threshold is set, UEBA will then start profiling all these events on an hourly basis. Every hour, it will try to profile all these events that get triggered, and it will then try to verify if these events meet the threshold value that has been set in UEBA. If that particular threshold value is met, the event will get cleared as a normal event. If the threshold value is not met for some reason, it will then be categorized as an anomaly right here. So the important factor is that every 24 hours, once all the events have been analyzed, Log360 will again use these events to train itself and update itself, and to update its baseline value if anything has changed. And it will continue this process throughout, and help you identify all the different anomalies that happen at your enterprise. So we'll start off with the time-based anomalies that you can see here. You can click on the time-based anomalies, and then you'll be able to find the anomaly listed here. So Log360's UEBA states that the users expected time of access is between 11 a.m. and 11:15 a.m., but then the user has actually performed this operation between 7:30 a.m. and 7:45 a.m. So you can also see here that the expected time is around this particular time frame, but the obtained time for this access is around this time frame as well. Not only from a user perspective, you can also identify these logs from a resource perspective as well. You can click on the resource audits and you can identify all the actions performed on a resource level. So for example, Mark Antony is expected to access this particular resource between 6 p.m. and 6:15 p.m. based on the trained and available data. But then the user has been identified, the access has been identified at about 8:15 a.m., and it's between 8:15 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. as well. So this is again another anomaly. So you can also switch to the event details tab and you can identify more insights as to when this action was performed, the IP address, the exact time frame, what was the action performed, and so on. Similarly, you have count-based anomalies that you can track as well. For example, if an admin was only supposed to perform 8 events, but then the admin ends up performing 22 events instead. So for example, uh, uh, an event would be classified as any action performed on PAM360. It can be a password viewed action or a password deleted, password modified action. Any action, any sensitive action performed on the PAM360's interface will be classified as an event. So UEBA states that threshold behavior based on trained and available data is 8 events for this particular user, but then the user has performed about 22 events, which is way above the threshold. So this is another alert that you can be mindful of. And not just from a user's perspective, if a particular user accesses a particular resource multiple times as well, you can identify that particular anomaly. For example, if a particular resource has a threshold of 25K events, and in that case, a particular user has performed events that go beyond that particular threshold, you can then identify that and instantly inspect and identify if this particular event or this particular access is malicious in nature. And finally, pattern-based anomalies, as I'd mentioned, usual behavior is that this particular user is supposed to log in from this particular IP at a certain time. However, the time is not the expected time according to UEBA. So UEBA states that the permissible time frames would be between these hours. However, the access was made during this particular hour. So since the pattern has been broken, since the expected pattern has been broken, you will then identify a particular a log that states that this particular pattern is not valid. So you can also identify if there are any anomalies or any malicious activities being performed from these anomalous activities that are recorded here. So yeah, similarly, you can also identify audits from a resources perspective as well. This is basically how UEBA will help you identify if there are any crucial anomalies that you'll have to be mindful of. Other additional few fields that you'll find helpful would be the recent anomalies tab from Log360's UEBA that will populate anomalies as and when they happen right here. And on top of that, you can also create alert profiles. So for example, you have a tab called alerts in UEBA under which you can click on manage profiles and add an alert profile. So an alert profile will help you identify alerts based on the frequency with which they happen, based on the risk factor that they possess. So we already have a bunch of alert profiles here. What this means is that whenever a particular bunch of alerts happen, or whenever a particular alert happens more frequently, you can track them right away from the dashboard panel that we have here. Under the recent alerts tab, whenever a particular alert happens beyond the threshold limit, it will be tagged under the recent alerts tab. For example, if this particular deviation from pattern happens more than 20 times in a row, you can get those alerts delivered to you right here under the Reset Alerts tab. So these are the crucial alerts that you'll have to be mindful of, right? Anything that you'll have to instantly address, you can find them here. So additionally, you can get alerts based on email. You can set up SNMP traps to get your alerts delivered to you from UEBA as well. And on top of that, UEBA also profiles users and offers them risk scores. So for example, let me just access this particular user's profile. As you can see, Log360 UEBA has offered, or rather has classified this user's risk score to be 17. So the lower the risk score, the better it is for any user, right? And you'll also identify why this particular user's risk score is this much using the anomalies contributing to risk score section that you find right here. If you have any suspicions on a particular user, you can just dive deep based on that particular user's scores as well. So that's a quick overview of what you can do with respect to the integration with ManageEngine's UEBA. So what if you can visualize all these alerts and events, right? What if you can visualize these over a period of time to see if there is any particular pattern? So UEBA is helping you identify if there are any alerts happening in real time. You can identify if there are any crucial insights that you'll have to be mindful of. What if you can sketch out these alerts over a period of time and identify if a particular resource is being scrutinized a lot, if a particular resource is being overused? That is exactly something you can do with ManageEngine Analytics Plus integration. So using Analytics Plus integration, you can build beautiful dashboards that will give you keen and useful business insights as well as security insights. And as you're already aware of, ManageEngine PAM360 already has an inbuilt advanced analytics module, which also includes Analytics Plus solution as well inbuilt within PAM360. So I'll just quickly show you what it looks like. So under advanced analytics, you will find PAM360's Analytics Plus solution available as well. So before that, as usual, you can switch to Admins tab. From the Admin tab, you can select Manage Engine, and then under Manage Engine, you can find Manage Engine Analytics Plus as well. If you haven't enabled it, you'll find an option called Enable here. But since we've already integrated this, you'll find an Edit option. You'll be able to configure all these parameters that you require. But for the Analytics Plus integration, you will not have to switch to this particular tab to perform any setup. You would rather be performing all these integration steps from Analytics Plus as well. You will have a detailed guide as to how to set this integration up, shared with you in the chat panel by Sweden. You can use that particular link to set up this integration. And once you set up the integration, you will find a dashboard that lists all the different anomalies that you'll have. So we have a bunch of predefined customized dashboards that you can already make use of. So when you go to the Explorer tab, you will find all the different dashboards that you have available for you. And as we just seen, the anomaly detection that we already observed from UEBA can also be viewed as a dashboard in Analytics Plus. So you can see the number of the number of non-business hour operations performed in this particular month. You can click on it and you can dive deep into that particular data. You can identify when these actions are being performed and what type of audit actions are being recorded and all that. Similarly, you can also find a variety of insights as to when operations are being performed after business hours. Is there a particular month or date when this particular action happens regularly? And if there is a particular set of action that happens regularly, that you should be mindful as well. So for example, here the password verified activity is the one that has been mostly performed during non-business hours. So you can probably see if you can scrutinize access during that particular hour or during such cases as well. Similarly, you can access plenty of pre-configured dashboards from PAM360 from our integration with Analytics Plus. So you can find another access control dashboard that will help you understand all the passwords that have been requested and the passwords that have been approved, all the passwords that have been revoked. So you will find a variety of dashboards that will help you with all these keen insights that will help you make business decisions as well. So beyond just the default dashboards that we offer, you can also create custom dashboards with the help of Analytics Plus. So you can build dashboards that will help you with compliance, real-time compliance monitoring. You can build dashboards that will help you identify security gaps in your enterprise. You can also identify bottlenecks in workflows that you've configured in PAM360 and so on. So we have a few use cases that we would like to share with you during this particular session to help you get started, right? So we want to help you understand the different types of custom dashboards that you can build with the help of our integration with PAM360. So using PAM360, here are the few dashboards that we've built for this particular session. These aren't already available as predefined dashboards yet, but if you're interested, you can just let us know. We'll share the templates with you so you can get started and use these templates in your enterprise to identify all these insights right away. So we'll start with our integrate. We'll start with a dashboard that will help you identify all the users who bypass PAM360 to access your resources. So if you're already aware of, in all our sessions and in our best practices guide, we'll instruct users to route all access through PAM360 and to ensure that every user who wants to access any server or endpoint does so through PAM360 so that you can get all the key insights that PAM360 offers. However, if that is not the case at your enterprise due to certain security restrictions, if you still do allow users to access the endpoints by bypassing PAM360 for some security purpose, you can still identify if people are doing it for the valid reasons or if they are actually bypassing PAM360 to avoid being monitored or recorded. So this particular integration will help you identify if there are a bunch of users who bypass PAM360 to access your endpoints. You can identify them and you can maybe scrutinize access or maybe update your firewall settings internally. And then you can identify if there are certain opportunities for you to automate your existing access control workflows. Say, for example, if you've set up access control for a bunch of resources. However, users regularly request access to these bunch of resources, and admins also regularly approve access to these resources because these users are requesting for access for valid business purposes, right? In such cases, you can identify if there's a particular time frame when these if there's a particular time frame when these access requests are made and are approved without any rejections from your admin's ends as well. So once you identify this particular action, you can either identify if if these access control workflows can be automatically configured. For example, if auto approval can be enabled for these workflows, or if you should scrutinize your admins even further to understand why they are actually approving all these access control actions without being mindful of them. Then again, you can identify all the standing privileges associated with each user in PAM360. I know you would probably use PAM360 to eliminate standing privileges outside of PAM360. But however, if your users are sharing credentials with other users and not revoking access, or if they're not offering just-in-time access privileges to ensure least privileges at all times, you can identify that easily using our standing privileges report. This report will identify users with access to particular resources that they've not accessed in the last 90 odd days. And finally, you can also get business insights, as I'd mentioned. For example, let's say you have a service desk solution in your enterprise and your technicians are assigned a particular service requests or ticket IDs that they should be working on. And let's say these ticket IDs require the technicians manual intervention on the endpoints or the servers. So the ideal acknowledgement action would be an RDP or an SSH session launched from PAM360, right? So you can correlate the time when a particular ticket ID was associated to a particular agent in your service desk solution versus the time when the first RDP or SSH session was launched from PAM360. You can correlate this particular time to see if there are any bottlenecks in access provisioning, or if admins are not approving access requests on time, or if the technicians are being uh, a little if the technician need a little time to access these particular endpoints for some other reason as well. So let's quickly see how these dashboards would look. So these are the custom dashboards that we built, and I will start with the I'll start with the users for bypassing PAM360 to access the endpoints directly. So as you can see in this graph, you can see that there are a total of 162 sessions launched in total, and only 73 of these sessions have been launched from PAM360, leaving an 89 uh, difference in the number of sessions that have been launched outside of PAM360. So not only can you identify the number of sessions that have been launched by bypassing PAM360, you can also drill down on this data and identify the users who are actually performing this particular bypass action. As you can see here, Bob has bypassed access about 19 times. Eva has bypassed about 14 times. So you can identify which users are actually bypassing PAM360 to access the endpoints directly. So this is made possible by using the integration with a SIEM solution. So for our purpose, we've integrated with ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer. So by correlating the data from Event Log Analyzer and the data in PAM360, we're able to identify the users who have bypassed PAM360 and access the endpoints directly. This could mean that these users do not probably have certain restrictions enabled in place, or they're not aware of the fact that they're supposed to log in through PAM360. So this could be a very good data point that will help you train your users, or maybe set up new restrictions in your enterprise, maybe even update your security policies altogether. And the next one is the access patterns dashboard. This dashboard will show you the list of resources for which access control has been enabled and for which admins have approved access without any restrictions. So let's take this particular time frame between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. These four resources have had a bunch of approvals from administrators without any rejections. So in the 20 minutes, within 20 minutes from when access had been raised, all these resources, all the users who had requested access to these resources have gotten access request approved. So you can also narrow this down to just the 10-minute time frame when resources had their access requests approved. So using this report, you can either identify opportunities to automate this access control workflow. So you can probably ensure that admins have some burden taken off their hands. If you identify that this is a valid access request raised by these set of users, you can enable auto approval during that particular time frame to improve productivity. Or if you think that your admins are not being strict enough, if they're not scrutinizing these access requests enough, you can also identify opportunities to educate their admins on the importance of validating each and every request that are raised by users. And the next one is the potential standing privileges option that we spoke about. So using this report, you can instantly identify all the resources that a particular user or bunch of users have access to that they've not accessed in the last 90 days. For example, if you take the user DK21, this user has modified access to these particular credentials. So which means that this particular user has been granted access to these credentials, yet this particular user has not accessed these resources in the last 90 days, which would probably create a potential standing privilege there, you may want to eliminate standing privileges altogether from your enterprise, because this is a very key factor that you'll have to be mindful of. You would only have to grant least privileged access to every user, either outside PAM 360 or within PAM 360. So since the prime usage for PAM 360 is to ensure that every user gets least privilege access to all the credentials that they would probably need access to, this report will help you instantly identify all the users who have excess privileges, and you can maybe revoke access to ensure that you're cleaning up all your access policies right then and there. And finally, the access provisioning bottlenecks that we discussed about. So this graph details all, all the access patterns that you have in your PAM 360. So for example, this graph details that in the month of January, the average time taken for a technician to launch a session from PAM 360 ever since a particular ticket was assigned to them is about 15 minutes. So, and you can see that this particular bar that has been plotted by Analytics Plus ensures that you are mindful of the potential time or the ideal time within which a technician is supposed to acknowledge, or a technician is supposed to launch a session soon after the ticket has been acknowledged by them, right? So you can use this particular graph to understand if a particular user has either overperformed or underperformed that particular estimated wait time. So this way you can either identify if there are access provisioning delays which are contributing to this particular delay. For example, an administrator might need access to a credential that they don't really own, so they may have to request for that particular access. If it's access control enabled, an admin may have to again approve this particular access for this technician to launch a session to that particular server. So if a troubleshooting access, if a troubleshooting request requires a particular user to launch a session that has been locked with access control, then that is again another area for that you can be mindful of and improve your workflows on. So yeah, you can use this graph to identify if there are any bottlenecks, if a technician is not being mindful of that particular ticket despite getting access, and so on. So this is just a starting point for you. You can build plenty of visualizations using Analytics Plus. So I can quickly show you how you can do that. You can go to your Analytics Plus dashboard. You can click on Create. You can click on Dashboard, and you can select the table using which you would need to build a dashboard, to build your own custom visualization report. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's session. So in today's session, we did see how you can integrate with the SIEM solutions, how you can integrate PAM 360 with SIEM solutions, and how you can integrate PAM 360 with ManageEngine Event Log Analyzer, and how you can pull all the logs from Event Log Analyzer pertaining to corresponding RDP sessions in PAM 360. And then we did see how you can identify anomalies based on which you can audit these sessions, or how you can be mindful of the certain sessions that you'll need to audit. And finally, we also saw how you can visualize data using ManageEngine's Analytics Plus, and how you can identify if a particular anomaly has been happening over a period of time, or if you can find ways to improve your business workflows as well as regulate your security policies using insights from Analytics Plus as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. So if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A panel. Our in-house expert Sweden will be helping you with answers to all your questions. We'll also be able to answer your questions, or we will also be able to help you with your customization requests as well. If you have any requests that would probably pertain just to your organization, you can write to hello-pam360@manageengine.com. You can send us your detailed request if you need a detailed product demo. If you need our help with setting up any integration, you can reach out to us as well. So yeah, for now, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A panel, and we'll have them addressed for you over the next few minutes. Okay, I see a question from Jacob. Jacob wants to know if there are free trials available for the solutions that we just showcased. Yes, Jacob, you can download a free trial of ManageEngine's ELA as well as UEBA solution. You can get access to these individual products, or you can also download a free trial of ManageEngine Log 360 as well. And if you need access to Analytics Plus, you can also download a trial version of Analytics Plus as well. You can take a trial, see if these solutions help you in any way, see if these solutions give you more insights, and then make a decision later as well. So yeah, feel free to raise your questions, guys. Here, our in-house expert is responding to your questions on chat, as well as he'll be reading out your questions as well for the rest of the audience. Feel free to bring up your questions. And as I had mentioned earlier, if you have customization requests, or if you require onboarding assistance, or if you need any help with setting up these features, you can always write to hello-pam360@manageengine.com. We'll help you with all your requests in detail as well. All right, then. Thank you so much, guys, for joining this session. If you have any leftover questions, we will be answering them over email. Right now, we are coming to the end of this session. I believe our in-house expert has answered most of the queries raised via the questions tab in the Zoho webinar panel. If there are any unanswered questions, we'll take them up and we'll be drafting an email to all of you guys. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll meet you in another session in next month's masterclass series. Thank you so much, guys.